Hello everyone and welcome to the very first video on the Numpy lecture series. In this video we'll be learning about the basics of the Numpy data library and a few useful methods and attributes. So let's begin. So Numpy is basically a data library in Python which helps us to do fast mathematical operations and calculations on huge numerical data sets. So let's get to the topic. So the basic data structure inside the Numpy data library is known as an array. Let's see how to create an array. First of all, let's import the Numpy data library into our code, and in order to do that we just have to type import numpy as np and run the cell. As you can see, now we can use the np object to access every methods and attributes inside the Numpy library. The first method I'm going to access is known as the array method, which is used to create an array. And in order to do that, let me just type np dot array, and inside this method provide our data in the form of a list using square brackets. I'm going to provide 1, 2, 3, 4 as my data. And let's see. Before running the cell, I'm going to copy this into a variable, maybe arr equal to np.array, and let's see. Now let's see what is inside arr, and as you can see, our array is created with the 4 elements 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is kind of similar to creating a list, right? You must be familiar with the concept of list of list. For example, if we create a list, lst equal to square bracket, inside that I'm providing another set of list as elements 1, 2, 3, another list 4, 5, 6, another list 7, 8, 9, and let me run the cell. Now this list of list is copied into this variable, and let me initialize my new array arr2 equal to np dot array, and I'm casting this list into the array method lst and see what happens. Let's visualize what is inside arr2 and see a 2-dimensional array is now created with 3 elements, which is this. Okay, as you can see, we have like in this 2-dimensional array we have like 3 rows and 3 columns, right? A 3-dimensional array can also be created using a list of list and so on. We can have n-dimensional arrays. That's the speciality of the Numpy's data structure called array. And this array helps us in doing fast calculations when it comes to mathematical operations on this data set. So as I have already mentioned, in this 2-dimensional array, you can see 1, 2, 3 rows, 1, 2, 3 and 3 columns. And in order to make sure this is a 3 by 3 matrix, let's access an attribute which is known as the shape. Let's see what is the shape of this array by arr2 dot shape and run the cell, and we get 3 by 3. Perfect. Now we have the shape of this function using the shape attribute. Let us see what all other arguments can be passed inside the array method. In order to do that, I'm going to type np dot array, and as you can see inside the box, apart from the data, we have the d type that can be specified. Let's see by default what is the data type of this array. In order to do that, I'm going to type arr2 dot d type and see what is the data type. And by default, the data type is an integer. And let me see if I can change the data type while initializing itself. In order to do that, I'm going to create a new array arr3 equal to np dot array, and I'm going to create a 1-dimensional array with 1, 2, 4, 6 and the next argument is going to be d type, and I'm specifying it to be float. And let's run this cell and see what is the data type of this array arr3 dot d type, and we have it to be float. Let me try one more. arr3 3. Okay, let me try to change this into maybe complex and run the cell, run this cell, and see we have this converted into complex. And let's see what is inside ARR3, and this array is like this. Perfect. Let me just quickly access the variable that we have already created, lst, and see what is inside it. lst has this list of list, and let me just quickly see what was inside the ARR2 array. And we have a 2-dimensional array with 3 rows and 3 columns with the same data. Okay, let me create a new array, ARR5, for example, equal to np dot array, and I'm going to pass this list into this with one more list inside it, maybe like 1 comma 1 comma 1, and see what is gonna happen. Run this cell and see what is inside ARR5, and as you can see we have like 4 by 3 matrix, like 4 rows and 3 columns. Right now when we see the shape, as you can see we have 4 comma 3. Is there a way to change the shape of this array? Yes, there is. We have a method in Numpy library which is known as the Reshape method, and to use the Reshape method we just have to specify the array first, then dot reshape, and specify the new shape you want for the array. In this case I'm going to specify 3 comma 4 and run the cell, and as you can see ARR5 has changed the shape into 3 columns and 4 rows. Make sure that when you specify the shape into which you want to reshape, we have sufficient number of elements. For example, in a matrix of 3 by 4 size, there will be 3 into 4, 12 elements. We have 12 elements in this, so we can reshape it into 3 comma 4 or 4 comma 3. We cannot reshape it into maybe like 5 comma 5, for example, 5 comma 5, and see what happens. See, cannot reshape size of 12 into the shape 5 comma 5. In order to do that, we'll have to need 5 into 5, 25 elements in the array to reshape into 5 comma 5. Now let us see what are the other arguments inside the reshape function. For example, maybe AR5 dot reshape, and see, apart from the shape we have this thing called the order. We can specify C, F, or A inside this. It just influences the order in which this is reshaped, the order of the elements in which this is reshaped. C stands for a particular order, F stands for a particular style of ordering, and A stands for a particular style of ordering. So that is what the other arguments does. So that is it for this video. We'll get back with the continuation in the next videos. Thank you.